Uh, Back during the O.J. Simpson story in the 90s, this was a good book in a way. It was called The Nicole Simpson Story. And you flipped it over, the O.J. Simpson story. This was a black and white comic, and it took place right before the trial result. So the trial was still going on, and no one knew the result. And this sort of gave you the backstory for it, and pretty interesting. By comparison, this was and I'll say the word, bullshit comic book, bait and switch. It was called, if you look at the title, Rotten Decay, Doing Time with OJ. And they show OJ there. And it was complete bullshit and how to lose a reader. I never bought a comic from this company again. Written by Hart D. Fisher, publisher. It was complete bullshit. And he even insults the buyer in this comic book title. Let me repeat that. For $2.95 back then, insults the buyer. Here you go. Epaths. Ha! Sucker. You fucking sap. Fell for it again. The old gimmick title trick. Well, guess what? I've got your money, and the book isn't complete. It's just a fucking prelude for the OJ's big bust-out shipping in March. Hell, OJ's barely in this book. Oh, aren't you burnt? I'm laughing all the way to the bank. What a bunch of morons. Stop it. You're killing me. I'm tickled. A fanboy and his money. At least you didn't buy an image book. You probably laughed your ass off, even though it's not wall-to-wall OJ, am I right? I knew I was. Rotten Decay. I love those guys. The Holy Trinity of Doom. I love those guys. Jesus Christ, what a goof. Great characters, but none of them could have sold on their own. So I tricked you. It was for your own good. Admit it. You loved it. Didn't you? Don't worry. OJ's big bust-out will be full of OJ, I promise. Honest. You fucking sucker. Hart D. Fisher, publisher, December 1994. Well, Hart D. Fisher, you fucking son of a bitch, piece of shit motherfucker. You did the bait and switch piece of shit comic book that this was. One of the worst fucking pieces of shit comic books I ever read, you son of a bitch. Basically, OJ here is basically 3 pages of the whole entire issue. It was all bait and switch, subpar indie art. The whole book, 95% of it is not even on OJ. It's on other characters. Imagine that shit. You paid for a book with your money of $2.95, which was a lot more than cover price of like $1.50 back then. And the publisher insults you completely, saying he bait switched you and he's cursing at you. One of the worst comic books ever, period. And one of the most insulting comic books ever. That is how you guarantee you lose a reader forever, and he never buys your crap again. That is the opposite of what I earlier said about good public relations. This is bad public relations, how to piss off a potential reader who could have bought future books from you, and to make sure he never buys anything ever from you again. This is a piece of shit company and a piece of shit assholes to do something like this. Guaranteed to never be a fan of you or your company or anything to do with you again. That's how you piss off a reader, by insulting him like that, by tricking him like that, and by taking his money like that. On the other hand, okay, enough of this piece of shit comic. Piece of shit. On the other hand, this black and white comic by First Amendment Publishing, admittedly not bad. They gave it some fair shakes. The whole comic was about OJ, and the other half was about Nicole. Treated the property pretty fairly. It gave you, the reader, your money's worth. And that's a proper comic book. That's something that delivers what they said. The art was pretty good. The cover was pretty good. And so that is a good comic book. And that is one of the worst comic books I ever bought. A comparison of if you're a new reader, you would never buy a comic book from this company again, and you would buy a comic book from this company again. That's how you lose a reader and make sure he never comes back to you. This is how you make sure you gain a reader and that he might try your books in the future. Interesting case study.